Greetings, Collective Coven. This is Trey, aka Taboo, tarot reader, author of Astrology for Divination, and welcome to a blind spot Tarotscope, diving deep into the P Diddy Trial. For my humble opinion, this is a case study of Eclipse Energy. So in this blind spot Tarotscope, we initially will be working with the tarot as a supporting tool to set the stage for what are the correspondences between the astrological archetypes being triggered by Eclipse season 2024 in relation to all of the characters entangled in this Scandy Candy P Diddy Hot Mess Express. Then we will transition into some intuitive tarot and do a blind spot tarot reading, proposing the query, what is the blind spot? In all of the public discourse surrounding the P Diddy trial, what is the average viewer tuning in because they're thirsty for that tea, looking to spill all the tea? What are we completely unconscious of? What is hidden from the public eyes? What are perhaps the shadow hidden power dynamics playing out behind the scenes? These are all questions we will dive deep into. So if this is something that intrigues you, welcome. We are here to spill all the tea. Again, my name is Trey, and just to preface, as I record this, it is October 19th, 2024, and there's been a lot, if you are following this case, as I have, there has been a lot of developments happening in the past week, and I could talk a lot about the astrology behind all this, but today, October 19th, 2024, is the full moon in Taurus exalted, so I thought it would be a good time to record this blind spot Tarotscope. And with that being said, let's now dive deep and set the stage. So, what astrological archetypes correspond with the tarot cards that we will be working with? So, first things first, just give you a little bit of information. I personally work with the Vedic Sidereal Zodiac, for it is 24 degrees more in alignment with the current astronomical transits versus the Western Tropical Zodiac. And the eclipses in 2024, according to the Vedic Sidereal Zodiac, have been manifesting along the Pisces-Virgo axis. Now, if you are using the Western Tropical Zodiac, they've been manifesting for you along the Aries-Libra axis. However, in Vedic, I think all of this eclipse energy is being perhaps enhanced by the lunar nodes, the north and south node, Rahu and Ketu, which are also along the Pisces Virgo axis. And it's interesting that on October 16th, right as P Diddy basically was asking to be released for the third time from, the federal prison, Ketu, the south node in Virgo station, retrograde. So I definitely am sensing here a lot of themes related to Rahu and Ketu, the lunar nodes, all this eclipse judgment energy. So this is the overall energy, the judgment, major arcana of this eclipse. Now in Vedic, it is said that this axis of Virgo Pisces, this polarity pair of the ecliptic, is a very significant, important space for Rahu and Ketu. So with the judgment, we're seeing these themes being triggered of corruption, deception, intrigue, also bankruptcy, mystical spirituality, ritualism, all of this, I think, is, again, being triggered by Rahu and Ketu, the lunar nodes, that are giving the 2024 eclipse season like an extra oomph of potential indecency and degradation and deprivation and degeneracy, like the judgment here being the overall energy of this eclipse. I feel, again, it is very much encapsulating all these themes that are being brought into the conscious awareness by the P Diddy trial. Now, we also obviously have the sun, major arcana, with the eclipses, and the moon, major arcana. So eclipses come in pairs, right? You have basically 4 eclipses in every eclipse season, 2 solar eclipses and 2 lunar eclipses that happen along this axis, and then they reverse. So, for example, the first lunar eclipse was in Virgo, and then the second lunar eclipse was in Pisces, and vice versa for the solar eclipses. So this is invoking the most basic duality of yin and yang. And in my humble opinion, with the judgment, this is invoking shadow work of integrating the yin and the yang, and understanding that there is no light without darkness, there is no light without shadow, there's no yang without yin. Okay, and this is about recognizing that, in my humble opinion, there's a lot of shadow work being invoked by this eclipse season, in particular this P Diddy trial. And we'll, like I said, in a hot minute, dive deep into a blind spot tarot reading. But these are just some of the themes, trigger warning, that may be invoked. Again, shadow work. Looking at things that are triggering, uncomfortable. Looking at things that maybe we would describe as taboo. All these things, I feel, are potentially playing out behind the scenes. Now, what characters? You're like, okay, this is all really interesting, but what characters are entangled in this web of exploitation? Well, we have here a number of characters. So buckle up, buttercups. We have here first, okay, the magician archetype representing Virgo. For me, this is Virgo's card, ruling planet Mercury. Okay, so we have the magician here. So ask yourself the question, who in P Diddy's web of entanglement is being embodied by the magician? And keep in mind that multiple people can embody this archetype, regardless of their sex or gender identity. Now we also have the King of Pentacles. Now this is the Leo Virgo cusp, strong earth energy. You can ask yourself the question, now who do you feel is embodying the King of Pentacles energy in this P Diddy party, perhaps? Yeah, so let's just say these characters are at a P Diddy party, right? And you can just ask yourself, again, which celeb is embodying which energy? Now we also have here the Queen of Swords, which is the Virgo Libra cusp. Who is embodying the Queen of Swords energy? Her there. Now we also have the King of Cups, minor arcana, which is the Aquarius Pisces cusp. Who is embodying the King of Cups? We also have the Queen of Wands energy, the Pisces Aries cusp. Who is embodying the Queen of Wands energy? Last but not least, the Hanged One. Major Arcana. Oh, it's upside down. How funny. Appropriate for the Hanged One. This wish likes to be hung upside down and get freaky. So, who is embodying the Hanged One? This may be like the magician, a mystery character. Again, I have speculated about which character is embodying who, and I've looked at certain celebs' birth chart. But just keep in mind that when it comes to archetypes, sometimes astrological placements don't always, like a person's personal astrological transits don't always necessarily align with what energy they're showing up with in an entanglement in a situation. So with that being said, even though I have looked at P Diddy's birth chart, Jay-Z's birth chart, Beyonce's birth chart, Jaguar Wright's birth chart, Clive Davis's birth chart, Cat Williams' birth chart. You know, I've looked at a lot of people's birth charts attempting to potentially identify who may be embodying which energy. Yeah. Now, I don't intend to speculate because, in my humble opinion, there is a lot of speculation and conjecture based off of pure rumors and no solid evidence on the internet. There is no shortage of tarot readings about this P Diddy trial. There is no shortage of content out there. There is so much, in my humble opinion, actual misinformation for the sake of entertainment. So my intention with this initial Tarotscope is to hopefully provide some objective information, again, coming from the astrology about eclipse season 2024, that lays the foundation for anyone following this case to be like, P. Diddy could be embodying the Hanged One, and that P. Diddy is a black man who may be scapegoated in this public discourse because of white supremacy culture, and that there are many powerful white men, maybe King of Pentacles, behind the scenes, like Clive Davis, Lucien Grange, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, those types of characters who ultimately represent the root issue of Hollywood, the exploitation and the abuse, and that people from marginalized groups, in this case P. Diddy being a black man, whilst that does not exempt him from his misogyny and abuse, not saying it's an excuse, we have to understand the hidden power dynamics. Again, that there are a lot of powerful, rich white men behind the scenes who are perfectly content to let Diddy be the scapegoat and take the brunt of public shaming and public judgment, right? For the culture of Hollywood, which, again, P. Diddy is simply a product of. And the culture of Hollywood, I feel, is what is actually on public trial here. And that is what we have to understand. That there's a lot of racist conspiracy theories out there about the Black Illuminati, right? The gay cabal. Like, in my humble opinion, like Jaguar Wright may be embodying the Queen of Wands energy. Maybe Beyonce is the Queen of Swords. But I feel like, again, if Jaguar Wright is embodying the Queen of Wands, we have to understand that some people in the media right now may be grifting to monetize the moment. And grifters generally have breadcrumbs of truth. I do not doubt that Jaguar Wright witnessed shit at parties. I am certain of it. There's no doubt in my mind that Jaguar Wright, potentially the Queen of Wands here, has witnessed shit. And that there are breadcrumbs of truth in what she says. However, when she's pushing gay cabal the gay agenda groomer theories, creating this vast homophobic DL witch hunt. And she is also openly being pro-Trump. That, to me, is a red flag that the average person in dominant culture right now is blinded by their homophobia and their racism to the reality of the hidden power dynamics going on behind the scenes. And ultimately, Jaguar Wright, whether conscious or not, is just being another weaponized tool of dominant culture that is distracting people from the root issues, the root toxic power dynamics that, again, are, in my humble opinion, rooted in white supremacy and heteronormativity. The entire culture of Hollywood is straight culture. Repeat, Hollywood grooming culture is straight culture. And people are blinded by, repeat, their homophobia, because they are perhaps in need of a scapegoat. And so we have to understand, before we dive deep into the blind spot, to understand the psychology of blind spots, and that we all have them, and that especially in the context of a web of abuse and exploitation and corruption, all of these Rahu and Ketu eclipse themes being embodied in this P Diddy trial. I think a lot of straight people, straight white people in dominant culture are perfectly content to look at this trial and be like, oh yeah, like this is all because of the gay, black, Illuminati cabal who are trying to groom our children. Versus looking at this as, no, this is a product of straight white culture. These are the root issues. And a black man who is maybe heteroflexible is being scapegoated. So in my humble opinion, the Hanged One, this is like a initiation moment for the collective to tune in to the intuition, tune into discernment, and ask tough questions that the Hanged One is invoking, which is shifting your perception, shifting the way you perceive a situation. Because I guarantee you that the narratives that Jaguar Wright is pushing is not rooted in a perception that, in my humble opinion, is giving people the full unfiltered truth. People believe that Jaguar Wright is spitting truth. People may not be discerning of what her motives are. However, in my humble opinion, there is a lot that is hidden from the public. So let's dive deep now, with the stage being set, about who are the main players entangled in this P Diddy trial. For the blind spot tarot reading, a 4-card spread, we'll be using the occult tarot deck. But, I'm just remembering one more thing. The Sun in Virgo can correspond with the 8 of Pentacles energy. So, this being another important correspondence that I could find for the tarot, I feel what this is saying is that all these characters, again, have worked together professionally. Obviously, like 8 of Pentacles, the workspace. But, therefore, we have to understand that beneath, I think, certain narratives that are being pushed out there are certain economic interests and motivations with the 8 of Pentacles. Again, Jaguar Wright has a lot of legal fees that she needs to pay right now. And that Pierce Morgan interview was the perfect opportunity for her, in my humble opinion, to monetize the moment. And I just think at the end of the day, we have to understand that, again, like, grifters are always selling you breadcrumbs of truth, that they're sensationalizing and then interweaving conspiracy theories into, in order to make it sell, right? So again, we have to understand that's a part of the shadow work, is asking, what is a person's true intentions? You know, why is there this seeming obsession to out all of these powerful black musicians as closeted gay men and lesbians? You know, what is that on a deeper subconscious level? Like, that's scapegoating 101. And when it comes to homophobes, every accusation is a confession, and there's no shortage of homophobic and misogynistic accusations coming from Jaguar. Right. So we have to question her credibility, therefore, when she is implying that, Trump is telling the truth and that there's a gay groomer cabal running the Illuminati. Like, to me, Jaguar Wright, frankly, is potentially receiving a lot of money from alt-right, pro-Trump, Project 2025 people, because of Diddy's ties to the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris. And therefore, the Republicans do have political motivation to probably pay certain people to defame P. Diddy's character. And Republicans, what's one of their best blackmail tactics? The gay witch hunt. Lavender scare, boo-boo. They always have done this. These tactics are nothing new. So I am deeply skeptical of Jaguar Wright's claims. And I think we all should be, with the Eight of Pentacles here, knowing that there are some economic interests at play, perhaps to revive a narcissist's lost music career. Because whether or not you want to admit it, most of these characters, these celebrities, are on the narcissistic personality spectrum, clearly. And it is possible to simultaneously be a victim who then victimizes other people. Look at Cassie. Cassie witnessed crimes. She's not no innocent. She was definitely a victim of Diddy's abuse, clearly by that video. But she's not innocent in the sense that she's not complicit in his crimes. She witnessed shit. There's no way you can be with someone. And she could have gone all sister wives with them sex workers and revolted. But she didn't. Because she secretly loved it, probably, you know? You know, sleeping with the enemy, I feel certain themes being invoked by Cassie, and your proximity to power and privilege, and why that would make someone stay for their career, right, with an abuser. Like, I believe all women and all victims, and male victims too. I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying, like, someone like Cassie, with her proximity to privilege and power and these dynamics, undoubtedly, like I said, probably witnessed and participated in Diddy's crimes. And it is simultaneously possible, it's a yes and situation, that you can simultaneously be in Stockholm Syndrome with an abuser, a narcissistic abuser, and then perpetuate those same patterns of harm on people who are maybe not as powerful, not as rich as you. The people, you know, they were maybe holding hostage, you know, who knows. But we're going to dive deep Now into the blind spot. Tarot, do some intuitive tarot. If you're still with me, thank you so much. Spirit, what is the blind spot that the public is not perceiving in all the P Diddy homophobic and racist discourse? So this is a 4-card spread. The first card represents the overall energy, the overall topic in question. The second card represents the collective unconscious. The third card represents the shadow. And the fourth card represents the blind spot. Spirit, there she goes. Here, first card, the King of Pentacles, confirmation of that King of Pentacles energy. So this is the first card, the overall energy topic in question of the blind spot spread. And the message is thus from the Occult Tarot. Turns any metal into gold. Gives one high offices and titles. Answers questions about past, present, and future. Entitled narcissism. Right here. Entitlement. And we also have an alchemical reference here. Turning any metal into gold. Whoever's embodying this King of Pentacles energy is, again, someone behind the scenes. Someone who's very intelligent. I'm sensing someone who's the puppet master, a mastermind, someone who, again, has a lot of wealth and physical resources. Okay? Gold, right? Someone who also, again, is deeply entitled, deeply narcissistic. This could be, like, the King of Pentacles is a similar energy to me. The Sun in Capricorn, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. This is a similar energy to the Emperor. This could be an Emperor, like, overt narcissist type, the King of Pentacles. So what I'm sensing here, the overall energy that we're being invited to ponder here with the blind spot, the King of Pentacles, is the intersection of toxic masculinity and money. Love bombing, the intersection of toxic, masculine, left-brained narcissism and that lust for money, power. What is that intersection? The King of Pentacles. And how do they weaponize comfort? How do they weaponize love bombing? How do they weaponize a false sense of security for their never-ending victim machine? Again, the King of Pentacles is telling me the overall energy that we have to remember that P Diddy was initiated by powerful men into this victim-making machine that is the cult of Hollywood. This, Hunger Games propaganda department of the military-industrial complex. Like, Hollywood is in full Hunger Games mode. It has always been a tool of propaganda that is ultimately subservient to white supremacy, dominant culture. So this King of Pentacles energy, again, I'm sensing it's someone who is a devoted, almost religious, one could say, disciple of white supremacy, heteronormativity, heteromediocrity is that King of Pentacles. A mediocre white man, a record executive who is not talented, who has nothing, and just like an energy vampire, profits off of the creativity and talents of a culture vulture. And this is invoking a lot of things about American dominant culture. But let's see, Spirit, what is now the second card representing the collective unconscious? Oof. A little fly came into my ear, whispering sweet nothings. Spirit, what is the second card representing the collective unconscious surrounding the P Diddy discourse? Wow, that's interesting. The Chariot. Strong Cancer energy here. Mars aspects as well as Mercury aspects. And the message from the occult tarot is thus: sower of discord, slayer of men, well. Can see here there is blood on this image, which implies a lot, because this again represents the collective unconscious. What people are unconscious of, I'm sensing, is that certain players do not have any free will and are completely subservient to certain forces, karmic forces, again, malefic forces of the lunar nodes, Rahu and Ketu. And the Chariot here in the collective unconscious is telling me that when you sell your soul for that illusion of fame, it's all an illusion. And these people are really, again, they've sold their free will, the Chariot, in exchange for fame and relevancy. That you could even say they've sold their sovereignty in exchange for money, power, and sex. And the Chariot is telling me that inevitably, that leads to the cycle of exploitation, addiction, and abuse, of narcissistic abuse, the cycles of narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And the Chariot here is inviting the collective, I'm sensing, not forward movement, but to again expand our perceptions. The Chariot here, the Merkaba perhaps, is inviting us to expand our perceptions, because there's a lot, again, being invoked by all these eclipse themes in relation to the P Diddy trial. I'm sensing here about, with the Chariot, again, of the light and the shadow, and how we like to put celebrities on pedestals and stand them and worship them because we believe they're good people, but they're just people. They have both light and shadow within them, just like any other person. And it's about what choice do you make? Because ultimately, the Chariot is about that choice. Are you going to choose the path of Yang? Are you going to choose the path of Yin? Okay, Spirit, what is now the third card representing the shadow in this P Diddy trial? What is the third card representing the shadow the shadow work. The devil. The diddler. No. Will not scapegoat P Diddy. The diddler. Girl, she is creative. I'll give her that. But we have here the devil in the shadow. Capricorn energy. Which is fitting, perhaps, with the message thus. Makes one worse off than ever before. Tricks mortals into being bound. Accepts child sacrifice. Well, there it is. There it is, folks. Confirmation that, again, like I said, there is some truth in what the grifters are grifting. But how are they twisting it to make you confused in order to, again, not perceive the whole expanded picture? Because that is what agents who have been bought exist to do. They're like, well, if we've lost control of the information, then now we can only do is offer misinformation and or distort the actual information. So I'm sensing that with this card as well. And, Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn. And on the 11th of October, station direct in Capricorn, which, a lot of shit started happening in P. Diddy's case as well. And right as Pluto station direct. So this energy for me, it's, Pluto is inviting us to look at the deepest levels of shadow work. Like Pluto in Capricorn is inviting us to, I'm sensing, again, confront evil, confront the taboo of talking about evil when you see evil and naming it. And so again, I think that with this in the shadow, obviously, we have to acknowledge grooming. Again, in that what is actually going on is that straight people cannot accept the reality that grooming is largely done by cis heterosexual or heteroflexible men, or men who are heteronormative and who are devoted to heteronormativity and white supremacy. And that a lot of people cannot handle that reality of misogyny and systemic abuse of women and children. And so they need a scapegoat. They need a scapegoat. And again, this devil energy is all about scapegoating for me. And ask yourself the question, who is the scapegoat put on public trial for the internet trolls to have their echo chamber confirmed, right? So they can carry on feeling like they're a good person when they're complicit in evil. Because in the words of Nina Simone, you can wake up in the morning in America and witness evil. You can go to bed at night in the evening and witness evil. I see evil in the morning, I see evil in the evening in America. It's all around us. And it's because our entire culture is a culture that was created by cis heterosexual white men to allow them to groom and get away with it. And the only way they've gotten away with it is by having a scapegoat to blame. And that scapegoat has been gay men and trans women, queer people, people of color. Marginalized groups have always been the scapegoat. And again, that is what I'm sensing before we pull the blind spot, the final card. The devil, this Pluto and Capricorn energy, without a doubt, is telling me it's easier to scapegoat someone who you fundamentally don't view as fully human. And that is what that's the evil we must confront, actually, is that people like P Diddy only exist because in order to dehumanize others, you must dehumanize yourself, or you have probably been dehumanized. And that's the cycle of trauma, is that people who are traumatized traumatize others. People who are dehumanized dehumanize others. And that this is a cycle of evil that we must confront. And we can only confront it by looking at the root issues and not scapegoating individuals, realizing that this is a culture of grooming. And straight people, you can't deny the reality of statistics. You can't deny the reality of the majority of groomers and people who commit rape and SA and violence against women and children are men who identify as cis heterosexual. You cannot project that shadow onto queer people, onto gay people, onto trans women. You cannot scapegoat the queer community for the straight culture of grooming. Because in my humble opinion, only a straight heteronormative man would put his hands on Cassie the way P Diddy did in that video. And y'all are in denial if you cannot see that. And that, frankly, a gay man would never put his hands on a woman in that way, even if he was a closet case. Limp wrists just don't work like that, in my humble opinion. And that's just what I'm seeing here with the devil. The P Diddy is not the devil in this context. The devil is the society that created a system that allowed powerful men like P Diddy to get away with those crimes for as long as he did, because I guarantee you there's a lot, again, of powerful cis heterosexual white men committing those same crimes who have more money and are not on trial currently, nor in jail like P Diddy. That is the root issue. Now, let's pull our final card. Spirit, what is the blind spot in this P Diddy trial? What are we all completely unaware of and currently unable to perceive? Spirit, please help us expand our perceptions to perceive the ugly, nasty, inconvenient truth. You know, there was a quote that Amanda Seales said in her recent tour. If you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. And that's something as a tarot reader that I know all too well. Spirit, what is the blind spot surrounding Sean Combs? Ooh, that flew out. The 10 of Swords. Well. Yep. Oppression. People are blind to the system of oppression that is Hollywood. The message is thus: builds houses and high towers, destroys an enemy's thoughts and desires, and all they have built, gives good familiars. So for me, the 10 of Swords corresponds to the Sun in Gemini energy. I'm just throwing it out there. But I'm sensing here with the blind spot. Yeah, people are blind that this is like this is the death, the end, Ten of Swords of the cult of Hollywood. Like, you know, it kind of was on its last broken down leg after the Weinstein and Epstein revelations, Pizzagate. You know, it was kind of on its last broken down leg, but now with this trial, it's over. In the words of Judge Judy, it's over. D-O-N to the E with the Ten of Swords here. And that's what people are blind to. They I guess haven't realized that celebrity worship is super cringe now, and like it's not a look that is befitting. It's not cute to worship unethical rich people in 2024. You know, eat the rich. Like, a lot of people are tired of this Hunger Games shit. You know, people see it for what it is. And that's ultimately what I'm sensing part of the blind spot is that a lot of people are blind to the fact that behind the scenes people are scrambling. People are trying to prevent certain videos from being purchased. People are scrambling behind the scenes to prevent this inevitable end of the oppressive system, the cult that is Hollywood. People are just trying to forestall, again, the inevitable end of it all. And that's ultimately what I'm sensing here with the Ten of Swords in the blind spot. Yeah. The Ten of Swords is telling me too that they can no longer deceive people. The deception, people are starting to post internet, you know, develop discernment. And people are no longer so easily deceived. And I'm sensing that with the Ten of Swords here, that we have to understand that most of the mainstream media narrative surrounding this discourse of P. Diddy, again, is interweaving some element of deception, some element of misinformation to lead people astray, like lead people off the trail. And in my humble opinion, the Ten of Swords, therefore, is invoking that, again, the motivations for this are to protect powerful people behind the scenes from being exposed. And that Pluto and Capricorn energy, again, is like a mask. This is a mask off moment. Like when Pluto stationed direct in Capricorn, to me, that was like a mask off moment in the context of like a narcissist true character being revealed. And so, again, in the context of celebrity narcissism and worship, the Ten of Swords here is telling me that Hollywood's reign, you know, it's over. It cannot recover from this PR scandal. And people know too much. People see too much. The veil has been lifted. So, rest in piss, Hollywood. You made shit movies. You gaslit us all for so long. But this is the blind spot spread that I have to offer to the collective coven regarding the P. Diddy scandal. Very interesting here. Again, the King of Pentacles confirmed, the Chariot, the Devil in the shadow, and the Ten of Swords. Whew, I have goosebumps. I have honestly goosebumps right now. Like, I'm just kind of really almost nervous, and I don't get nervous that often during readings, but I just felt the gravity of the shadow work that is beneath all this P Diddy discourse, and I am not surprised at the cards that popped out. Not surprised one bit. Anywho,